Hey guys, welcome back to the Dialed In Podcast. This is the Low Equity Edition. Today we are joined by Erina, an unbelievable investor up in Fort Worth. So thank you so much for joining me, Erina. Before I do a really quick introduction for you, or actually I'm going to ask you for the introduction today. We're always sponsored by rocketbotleads.ai. And what they do for us is they provide us brand new on-market MLS direct data that we get faster than all of the other data aggregators. So we feel like we have a leg up when we're talking to the agents that we are calling. Having said that, Erina, thanks so much for joining me today. I know that this is your first time. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm currently in the DFW market out here in Texas. Sort of new to investing, new to calling the low equity market. So I'm excited to be here to learn and to pick up some tips and gems from you, Mike, just to further my real estate investment career. Thank you.
I love that. Well, that feels like a lot of pressure to provide you with some mentorship here. So let's do this. It's just me and you calling today. So let's just dive right in. I'm going to be calling from the bottom of the list. You call from the top of the list. Let's mute our apps. When we get on a phone call, we'll unmute. And then what I really want from you today, Erina, and I hope that you want the same thing, is provide me with some honest feedback, right? I want to hear how I did on the phone call, whether it's good, bad, ugly, all of it. I want you to tell me all of it. And if it's okay with you, I'll do the same for you. Hopefully that improves both of our phone calls. Is that okay?
That's perfect.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So I'm going to unmute or mute and then start calling.
Calling about the property on Glenrise Place.
Yes, how can I help?
Yeah, so I was just calling. I'm interested. I'm a local investor here. I'm located out of Fort Worth, Texas, but I do invest everywhere. And I was just wanting some information about the house. I see that you have an asking price of the $329. Is that still the same?
That is correct. We just put on the market, I think yesterday was our first day.
Okay. What kind of offers have you all been getting?
Haven't got anything offer. We just got on the market yesterday, so I have some showings, but no offers yet.
Oh, okay. So just on the market. Okay. So what I'm looking at, so we typically invest in low equity properties where we have a couple of different options where we can help the seller out to get their home sold. What is the price? How are they open to going lower on that asking price?
No, we just hit the market.
Okay, just hit the market.
Maybe after a month or two you can call us, but for right now we're getting a lot of traffic and it's priced very well, and it's the only one that has a water view from it, so it's a great property.
Yeah, why are they selling?
Just moving on. They sold it and they're moving on to another house.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so are you all off, or if we're able to come to that price, are they open to terms? Maybe any kind of creative offers for that?
No, like special financing. No, he wants it straight.
Wants it straight. Is there a reason why?
That's just his choice.
Just his choice.
Said that at the beginning. He just wants to put on the market initially to test the waters after 30 days and go from there. I've been doing this 28 years, so I know what you're trying to do. He's not interested though, but I appreciate your time.
Oh, awesome! 28 years. Well, I hope I could be like you and survive that long.
Have a blessed day. You'll find some deals out there.
Well, let me just tell you this. Just keep my number just in case. In the end, if just push come to shove, last ditch effort, we do offer, just to throw it out there. We typically do take over the payments for the seller, pay out your commissions, give the seller a little cash in their pocket and closing costs.
But I appreciate your time.
Oh, you're welcome. Well, thank you. You have a good day. Bye-bye.
Erina, you're a bulldog. I love that about you. You're a bulldog. There are a lot of people. Hey, Tyler, by the way, how are you?
Good. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm awesome. There are a lot of people out there who would quit on that call right away, right? Because you could sense that he was not wanting to give information.
Right.
And, I think part of it is that he has probably received phone calls like this before. It doesn't sound like he's gotten anything like this on this listing at all, but he's also very experienced, right? He's been in the business for a long time. He doesn't sound like he's old enough to be in the business for 28 years, but he seems like he's a pretty sharp guy. Okay. So a couple quick points here.
Okay.
I hesitate, and this is just my style, by the way. So take everything that I say with a grain of salt.
Okay.
You too, Tyler, if that's okay. Rudy's here too. So take this with a grain of salt entirely. I don't love to tell agents that I'm an investor right away. I basically say it in other words, because sometimes I feel like anytime I say that I'm an investor to somebody, they kind of pull back, right? It feels more like a competitive kind of situation. That's kind of how I feel about agent investor relationships. And one thing that I think that you did really, really well is start the conversation. I'm a local investor. Just kind of pull back the investor part of it.
Okay.
But saying that you're local, I think really helps, right? So I love that you called a local property first. I could sense when you started to ask about motivation, I think that what you could do is ask about motivation a little bit differently.
Okay.
So, I always talk about this, and Tyler, Rudy, I know that you've heard me say this. I don't know if you have, Tyler, but the 4 pillars, a lot of people bring in the idea of 4 pillars into DTA, direct agent work. And anytime that we're working with an on-market property, we already know 3 of the 4 pillars, right? So, Erina, which of the 4 do we know so far?
That they're looking to sell as soon as possible.
Yep. So you got timeline, right? What else?
Motivation.
You don't have, that's the one you don't have.
Yeah. Price and condition, usually, if they have the pictures online.
Exactly right. So those are the 3. So you have price, you have condition, you have timeline, right? They want to sell today. You know the price, you see the pictures, right? The motivation is always interesting. And we're always taught as investors to find the bunnies, right? Find the motivation. How do we find that to really pivot the conversation to find a way to benefit the seller? In this situation, because we're working through an intermediary in the agent, it's not as important, I feel. It's important, I think, as you build rapport, but I think that there are a couple really casual ways of doing it where it's not like, hey, what's the seller's motivation? And the way that I'll do it sometimes is I'll say something like, this looks like a beautiful property online. It looks like you've gotten a lot of activity on the property. Is there something wrong with it? Why hasn't it sold yet or whatever? And what typically happens in that scenario is that the agent's always going to come back and be defensive. No, it's a great property. The sellers are just whatever, moving out of state, job relocation, whatever that is. So that's kind of like a little sly way of doing that. I will give a hat tip to Kevin Cho for that one. He taught me that one. I love that one. Otherwise, I think it was a really good call. One thing I would encourage you to do is when he says that they are not interested in that type of transaction, or the agent says, I know what you're doing, you'll find deals out there, poke a little bit. And the way that I poke is I'll say something like, it sounds like you've done transactions like this before. Tell me about it. Now, he was a red agent, right? So you got a lot further than I would have, guaranteed, like 1,000%. But poking and prodding a little bit to see what their attitude is towards a subject to offer is really helpful for me personally to structure it in a way, or at least describe it in a way that's beneficial for the seller and for the agent. Otherwise, really good call. Let's take a second here. Tyler, Rudy, welcome back. Tyler, it's good to see you.
Thank you.
Tyler, did you and Rudy, did you guys both receive the lead list that was sent to you?
I did. Yes, correct.
Okay, cool. Rudy, you did too, I assume? Rudy's having some trouble with his internet today, so he'll hop back in. Tyler, so what we do here, the whole idea is just let's make phone calls together.
Okay.
Let's provide feedback for each other.
Okay.
And you actually heard Erina's call, didn't you?
Yeah, most of it.
What feedback do you have for Erina on that phone call?
Kind of like so. My knowledge of this is brand new. I mean, I don't even, when you said the 4 pillars, I was writing stuff down. So I'm like probably the greenest of green. And I do agree with Mike that you kept asking, it's almost kind of like you didn't hear the no and you just kept trying, even if you didn't maybe know the right direction to go, you kept kind of casting your line out there and maybe trying to get a hook. So I thought that was really good. And sometimes I think just asking an additional question, to what their response is, can sometimes be what opens the can of worms for someone to just kind of talk, because they probably want to talk about what they want to talk about. And if maybe you keep kind of asking questions, and eventually, not just asking questions like you're going off of a checklist, but like every other question or something, like, oh, that's a good question. Why did you ask that? Or why was your response that way? And it kind of can get them to maybe want to tell you a little bit more or something like that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I know, but I'm nervous. I'm super nervous to even call, but I'm here, pace lights action. That's
way to show up. I love it. So here's the thing, Tyler. You can hang out for a little bit, listen to a couple of our phone calls before you ever feel comfortable diving in. Don't even feel pressure to dive in today. Okay. So don't worry about that. What we do want, though, is we want to hear your feedback on the calls that we do make.
Okay.
So having said that, Erina did a little brief introduction for herself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, so I've always been intrigued with, buying a house. Well, I mean, my quick backstory is I'm frustrated. I'm still trying to be a first-time home buyer. Bounced around in career of sales. I have a solar business and, general contractor, an electrical contractor that I hold licenses for. And when it came to like buying a home, it was always frustrating, like getting approved for a home because of either a 1099 background or all these different things. It was like, I felt like I was always just a little bit behind the curve or ahead of the curve to getting a home. And so I started seeing all this stuff about buying homes this way, and it really intrigued me. And at the time, I had a call center down in Mexico that we were doing solar leads and selling over the phone. And, I have a son who's 19 and another one that's coming up that's a little more entrepreneur, that's 15. I thought, I would sure love to build a new type of business or a new revenue stream that I know nothing about, and see how I would do. And see what it does for my character and how it stretches me. And I believe in the industry. And so I'm just trying to figure things out, not only for myself, but I know I could, once I kind of learn that, I'll know how to apply all my other experiences to this type of industry. So
I love that. Where are you located?
I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, Old Gilbert.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. So are you looking to purchase your own sub 2 deal for you to live in?
Yeah, or a regular house. I have kind of like personal reasons of a demographic that is not very big. So there's tons of houses out there and opportunities, but whether traditional financing or sub 2, I would love to do that. And I think, I kind of had a realtor friend that would, maybe a little bit protective or cautious, like, oh, well, they have these clauses and they have all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but everyone else is doing this, so like, I know it can be done. And so they would she'll send me houses that are on like the MLS. I'll say, hey, could you send me some foreclosures or something? But I don't know what to really do with them, because I don't know how to get that first step going. And so that's why I was excited for what you're doing, Mike, is that, I felt like it was perfect for me to kind of get like, my feet wet.
Well, awesome. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope that you learned something today. And then, like I said, don't feel pressured to make any phone calls. Just listen in today. And next time, put that foot in the water, that toe in the water, you know?
Okay.
Okay, cool. So what we do is we mute ourselves while we are calling.
Okay.
And when we get on a phone call, we unmute so we can all hear. And then we just want your honest feedback.
Okay.
Okay. All right, Erina, let's get back to it. Good call.
Good.
I am calling about a listing of yours that I just saw in the MLS here. It is the one on Weathergate. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, you are.
Okay, cool. It looks like that just came on the market, right?
It did.
Awesome. Well, the reason that this one popped out to me is I'm looking for a new property to purchase. I invest in rental properties. And so this one popped out to me. I'm curious. I know that you guys are brand new on the market, but what kind of activity have you guys gotten on it so far?
I mean, we just went live yesterday, so.
Do you guys happen to have an open house this weekend?
Yes, I am doing an open house this weekend.
Awesome.
Yeah.
If you can, I'm familiar with the neighborhood, maybe not that specific street. Can you tell me a little bit about maybe what your opinion is on the opportunity to use this as a rental?
Well, that would be more, we need to find out. I think they may be a rental cap in the neighborhood, but I can confirm that with you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that'd be really helpful. I would hate to buy it and then not be able to rent it out.
Yeah, that would be something. And you know how that goes, even with the rental cap is something, you put your name on the list and, but you never know what time frame that could be in.
Yep. You wait and you wait and you wait, right?
Yes.
Are you doing a lot of business in this neighborhood?
I do a lot of business in general in the area. Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Very cool. Okay. I'm trying to think of any other questions I have for you about this property. It looks like, the pictures I see here it looks like it's in really beautiful shape. Is there anything that I'm missing here at all?
No. I'd never, all my listings, if you see the pictures, that's how the house looks. So.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
I don't do any fake photos, that's for sure.
Yeah. I hate when that happens.
Yes.
So, one thing that popped out to me here, and I'm just going to throw it out there. I don't know if this is a good fit or not, but it looks like the sellers aren't going to walk away with any money at closing based on their mortgage balance. It looks like it's a really tight equity position. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. I'm just going to throw this out there. I know that you guys aren't going to consider this now. In fact, I wouldn't if I were the seller at this point.
Right.
But if 30 days, 45 days down the line or so, you guys aren't getting the offers that you're looking for, or it's not moving, do you think that the sellers would consider something like me coming in, instead of them paying your commission, I can pay it for them so that we can kind of protect their equity? In addition, we can pay the closing costs. The catch here, though, is that we would be interested possibly in taking over the mortgage that's already in place.
Yeah, no, I know y'all's program very well. Y'all tried it on another one of my properties. No, I've already had the conversation. They want this sold. They have moved on. They're done with the type deal, and they want just whatever it is that they can get for it.
Got it. Okay, so it's vacant currently.
Yes.
Got it. And the last one, I'm kind of curious because I don't talk to a lot of agents who are familiar with the process that we go through. Did you end up selling by someone taking over the mortgage or not?
No, my other sellers did not want it either, but I did look into everything that whoever reached out to me at that time, I can't even remember the property, but we looked at it over everything, and the sellers felt the same way.
What do you mean the same way?
They did not. They wanted it gone. They did not want anything in regards to taking over their mortgage. Got it.
Was it like a trust issue or something like that?
Y'all must be. Has this been like a new seminar that has gotten a bunch of y'all out there now, because again, this wasn't prior. So I'm getting it a lot now. So is this something that everybody has been like now on the gun-ho bandwagon on this one?
I think it's more a product of just what the real estate environment's doing. I think that obviously 3 or 4 years ago, up to 6 years ago, the interest rates were really, really low, right? And we haven't quite seen the appreciation boom in the past 3 to 5 years that we saw the previous 3 to 5 years. And so a lot of the houses that we're personally buying are ones where they're either a VA or an FHA loan, and they've been owned for a couple of years, and there's just not the opportunity to build up that equity. And so it's basically, have you ever done you've been in the business for a long time, it sounds like. Have you ever done a seller finance?
Years ago.
Yeah. So it's basically the same exact thing. So the idea has always been there. It's just how it's structured and how it's presented. And I know that there are a lot of people who are calling about these sorts of things. So I totally understand where you're coming from, but I think it's more a product of just the real estate environment as a whole.
Yeah. Well, you see, I guess because I have been in the business a long time, I do know the real estate business in a whole. And North Carolina is not, I mean, I can't speak for other states, even though I know a lot about Florida as well. These interest rates, I mean, I bought my first home at 14% interest rate. I know the housing market's higher, but when you're settling into that 5-6%, I get everybody has sticker shock on the under 3%, and we'll never get back to that. That was just a rare time period. And we've seen what happened during that, but 5%, 6%, the technology, people moving here and stuff, the housing market isn't going to go into no crash or anything like that. And if you're patient, again, I think even agents has been so programmed within crazy market that they feel like if a house doesn't sell within the first week, that some way we have to drop the prices 10 to 20,000, and that's just unrealistic. I was in a market 25 years ago where houses stayed on the market for a year, and you may have gotten one buyer for it.
Well, yeah,
So
but that required
at it in a different way.
Yeah, that also required a much better agent though, too, right? I think that the last decade or so has really made it easy for people just to throw a listing on the MLS, and it sells in a couple weeks. It doesn't take
Correct. That's where so many got into the business, because they thought, man, this is simple. To me, this is exactly where the market should be, where it's a balanced market between buyers and sellers and negotiating their property.
I agree 100%. I love the way that you look at it. And, the way that we look at it, just because we're buying as investors, we're not getting the same rates that a homestead buyer is going to get. Right. And, we own a lot of properties. So what we're trying to do in this case is buy as many properties as we can using the lower interest rates that are still in place as much as we possibly can. And so it's more a product for us, at least, of the interest rate environment from a couple years ago.
You're turning those properties into rentals, correct?
Either that, or sometimes we resell them on owner finance. It really just depends on the property.
What's your percentage of reselling versus rental?
It's probably 75% rental, 25% resell.
Okay, and you do understand that due to a lot of these corporations and people doing more rentals in a neighborhood, that has also hurt our industry?
Sure. No, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So I think it's a big thing. I think if people just, I guess understand all of real estate and not just, the crazy market and then where we're at now, I think it makes for a better person to explain things to clients and let them have a big idea and make that choice on their own.
I agree. Mike Jackson over here, that's my full name. Mike Jackson is not Blackstone for sure. So I'm not buying tens of thousands of properties per month. Just trying to, feed my kids and their kids. That's all I'm trying to do.
Right. I get it, but I hope you understand what I mean in regards to the rental. It does hurt a lot when homes are being rented out and stuff as well, especially for first-time home buyers and stuff too.
I agree. Do you own any rentals, or do you just own your own home?
No, I own mine.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's interesting. There aren't a lot of agents who actually own even their own home. Like, you're way ahead of the curve because you even own your own home, let alone invest.
Right. Oh, my business partner does a lot of investing, so I know all about that. She's more on a short-term rental stuff.
You must hate her then.
No, I don't hate her. That's what she wants to do, and that's where she goes. And actually, a lot of her stuff, what she's doing really is bringing in people from other places that are looking to buy. But you know how that goes when you come to a brand new state and then you have an agent driving you around. You really don't know all the areas. You don't really know where you want to call home, but we're trying to get them to sign on a dotted line. So actually, I do like that concept because they're able to stay in a fully furnished home, rent on a fully furnished home by the month, no contract, no long lease, no nothing. That gives them that flexibility to drive around, look at the areas, really see what areas they like or don't like before they make that big purchase.
Well, let me run something by you then, because I'm kind of curious what you think about this. So what we've done recently, we've done this probably 3 to 5 homes or so. We've turned them into what we call Golden Girls communities. And we basically house in a furnished home independent older women who, you know, still need their independence, but they're not quite ready for assisted living, for example.
Right.
And so we'll house 3 to 4 women at one time. And it seems like it's a really great model for us. We've been doing really well with it. How do you feel about something like that in Clayton?
I mean, if you're underneath an HOA, that's more of an HOA thing. Just like I have some, even in my own neighborhood, a house that's not a retirement home, but it is a retirement home. It's 4 bedrooms, and they have like 4 elderly nurse staff on board.
Guys, I'm sorry. I'm just going to keep going on this call. That's okay. Like, I'm going to see where this goes.
Family members feel a little bit better about that than placing their loved ones in a kind of retirement home where it's like, you know, you got 1 nurse and you got 50 patients, you know, so they feel better about it. It's like a home, a community. So, I mean, I guess every situation calls for something different.
Yeah.
So,
well, what's going on in Clayton? What do you think that you need more of in Clayton?
Well, Clayton's just now really getting ready to boom. I mean, they do have Del Webb Properties, which is a great property for 55 and older community. That for the older, like what you were just saying, that if I was an older person, that's exactly where I would probably move. It's a beautiful community. And then you have so much other stores, and they're about to make that over there by Flowers Plantation. They're about to make that like a mini little city like they did in North Hills. So it's a booming area. Clayton is a booming area, or will be for sure.
Yeah. And is there a lot of new development there? Is that what's going on?
Oh yeah, there's new development there. Yeah.
Is it all builder development?
Combo, but yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is anyone that you're working with, do you have any clients who are looking to build themselves? Are they looking for land by chance?
From out of state tomorrow. So that's kind of probably where we'll be at. But not in the Clayton area. There's going to be kind of more over in the, Wake Forest and that side of town.
Got it. Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I learned a lot talking to you. I appreciate you spending a few minutes with me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. I hope this listing sells quickly for you.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye-bye. All right, guys, lay into me.
That was an awesome call.
It was interesting, right?
Yeah. You were able to really dig in and get her talking. To me, she was kind of like upfront, like, no, we're not interested. But asking about the rental market, just getting her knowledge and getting her to talk. Your pace, tone, and confidence really shows. And I think as newbies, we're kind of like worried about script and making sure we hit the points, like you said earlier, that it really doesn't flow. And we tend to rush, not really listening to what they're saying. I know sometimes I'm like thinking about, okay, what I'm going to say next versus that. You complimented her, by saying you've been in a business. That's always like a way to get them open and talking. So, and you did that multiple times. I think that she really liked that as well.
I could tell that she liked to be praised.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. She wanted to be the authority on that phone call, which I'm totally fine with. And I think that for me at the very beginning of making these kinds of phone calls, that was always challenging, was how do I control a conversation, come off confident, but also give them a level of control or feeling like they're in control of the conversation, right? That they are the expert. That's always the challenging part in any of these phone calls. So I love how you picked up on that. That wasn't really intentional, by the way, Erina, but I think that just doing a lot of these phone calls, you kind of pick up on these things subconsciously.
Wow. Well, it was awesome. Definitely wasn't scripted, off of a script, can tell. So I think that's important to just kind of flow. Each call is different. So that's something I know that comes with time. But that was awesome. And then just seeing what was needed in Clayton, I think that was awesome. Just trying to get her opinion on the market, just to see about other deals that you can possibly work with her on, just kind of sliding it in there. I liked that. You did awesome.
Any agent that says that they do a lot of business, Tyler, is one that you want to create relationships with, right? So I was interested in learning more. I didn't do personally, I didn't feel like I did a very good job of really diving into that. I could have said something very, very direct. How can we work together? Something along those lines. But I don't know how that would have gone over. And what I wanted to do with her is, because she is an experienced agent in that market, it sounds like she does a lot of business, is to find a way to connect with her. I struggled with that personally, honestly. I felt like I struggled with that a little bit. I don't think that I could have gone down the creative route with her and said, hey, do you have any other properties that this makes sense on? Because I don't think that she is an endorser of this type of transaction. That was my feeling. I was questioning in my head whether I should pursue that or not, meaning just asking her, hey, how do you feel about these types of things? But when she started to go down the rabbit hole of, you guys who buy rentals are the devil, I kind of backed off. So, Tyler, I saw you smile when I said that line of, you must hate your partner then.
Yeah. So I think you did a great job. The way I would say it is, sometimes maybe us or new or someone new calling would feel like you're playing checkers and you were playing chess, kind of like pre-framing questions that the question that you want to ask is going to be a question you're going to ask in two questions. So I'm going to kind of lay down a softer question in the very beginning that's going to lead into something that will allow you to follow up with maybe more of a direct question that you really want to ask. I thought, the way that you explain things, well, like, kind of like, I'm just kind of curious, I'm kind of curious, like, would this even be good for me? Because, as she was kind of like the authority type of personality, it was just kind of asking, like, man, I've got this interest rate and I've got to be able to make something work. Do you even think that would work? And let her kind of talk. Then that same type of a question was, hey, we've got this concept. Like, tell me what you think of this. And I'd love to get your feedback, or I'd love to get your opinion, since you're so knowledgeable, about the Golden Girls, which I thought was really cool. And then she was able to kind of talk. And I'd imagine if you are sticking to a certain area or demographic, over time, you start to kind of have a list of agents that you work with, and you start to kind of come across the same people's names or properties. And so asking questions like that, I think, are very valuable, because then you kind of learn about the area, the neighborhood. And then in the next call, if you were calling someone in the same area, you'd be like, yeah, we know there's a lot of new development going on and people are looking for lands, and some people are coming in, and you kind of just take what you just got from the last call and you add to the next call. And, and I think that would be a great way to get more information, just to help you gain confidence on calling in an area so to help you feel more confident when you're calling in the same area over and over again.
Yeah. Thanks for that. You made a really good point that I've never really even thought about, but I'm glad that you brought it up. It's I hate to use the analogy of chess versus checkers or checkers versus chess, but I think naturally what I've found myself doing is asking a question that I know what the answer is going to be, right? It's like the attorney, right? Who, with the person on the stand, and he or she knows the answer to the question that they're going to receive, which is going to lead them into another question, right? It's leading the witness, if you will, right? But doing it without objection. And, you know, in this case, what I've learned is that if I can lead them down the road that I want to take them, then I'm armed with the ammunition that I need. And that's kind of the way that I formatted my script, you know, if you will, in my head is I'm going down a path, you know, in my head, I'm going down a path. I vary, you know, my path sometimes, or I'll go off in one direction, but try to bring it back. And with her, I actually brought up the Golden Girls thing because there's a woman in sub 2. Her name is Amber Brown, incredible woman, doing the Golden Girls in Florida. And I sensed that this agent was a little bit older. And so I was trying to find a way to connect. You know, I was trying to find some sort of connection, but also bring it back to, you know, yeah, we might buy this way, but we also use the property for this type of a purpose, which was hopefully going to be a connection point for that relationship. It wasn't the way that I was hoping, but you try, you know. What would you guys have done differently on that call? Or maybe add something.
I would have sent her my affiliate link to join sub 2.
Yeah, it's always funny when they say, you guys must have gone to a seminar recently or something like that, right?
Yeah, it was great. Do you want to join?
Yeah, right? Yeah, I'll get you $800 off. I'll split my affiliate.
The one thing that I thought about when she said, you know, I could see her point making sense. Like there's a lot of rentals, and that's kind of hurting the equity, or, you know, in neighborhoods. True, maybe, you know, but at the same time, the reason why sub 2 is so valuable is because of the rates that homeowners are getting, you know. And so it's kind of like, yeah, maybe it sucks that the equity's not going up and you can't sell your house and get that. But for the buyer, it's also like sub 2 isn't maybe just buying a house and turning it into a rental. Sure, that's a strategy, but it's also a way for people who traditional financing can't get a home, or doesn't really work out for them, you know? And so it's like, to her point, it could have said, well, yeah, and that's exactly why we do sub 2, is because of the interest rates. You know, there's not a lot of equity right now in homes, but at the same time, people can't afford the rates that are out there. And so we kind of have to take the rental with this, you know, these opportunities that kind of come. And that's, you know, something that maybe, you know, could have been a future seed planted. But I've always been a fan too, which I think you did a great job, Mike, and Erina, in your first call too, is at the end of every call, just not being a jerk, so that for the next person that calls, you're at least paying it forward to whoever else is going to be calling, so that they were like, oh yeah, someone else called me about, and they kind of talked about this. Oh yeah, he was a nice guy. You know, yeah, you know, and at least we never know about those things, but it's kind of like the good karma that we hope that we weren't a jerk to someone. So the next time someone says sub 2 or creative finance, they're not just like triggered and like want to hang up on us. So I thought you did a great job there.
Yeah, thanks. I brought up the point that I also, and I legitimately do this, where I'll buy a sub 2 and I'll resell it on owner finance. And I brought that up. We didn't go as far down that path that I wanted to, but I wanted to kind of bring it back to, we provide opportunities for people who don't have the opportunity to purchase conventionally. You know, Tyler, it's the story that you told, right? If you don't have a W-2, sometimes it's hard to get qualified at a bank. Mm-hmm. If you are a construction worker and you're paid in cash, but you work your butt off, sometimes it's hard to buy a house. And yet you have the money to do it and you can afford the mortgage. And so, you know, maybe that's a good route to go down sometimes, is, you know, we provide opportunities for people to purchase a home that don't traditionally have the opportunity to purchase. Yeah. So something to think about. Well, Erina, let's get back on the phones. Let's get a couple more done in the next 20 minutes or so.
One other question. So for this, are you, would the process be something like this? You send out this list and I go, okay, I'm going to randomly choose a house, line 6 or whatever, this one that's in Denver. And then maybe I look up the address and get a little bit of information before it and then call and try to make a connection. Is that what we're doing behind the scenes kind of?
I didn't even look at this property.
Okay.
I just called the number. In fact, when I said it looked nice, I haven't even seen it.
Okay.
That's me though. And when I first started to make these phone calls, I felt like I needed that support blanket a little bit, right? To comment on something that I can see. At this point, I don't care. I can roll with it and see. But I think what I always encourage people to do, if possible, is just dial. When you get on the phone with somebody, then if you want to look it up, look it up.
Okay.
Because what happens is if you take a look at something, Tyler, like if you look down a list, let's call it a list of 30 properties. If you are looking up the listing beforehand and taking a look at the numbers on it, you're looking up the mortgage, you're looking at the asking price, the pictures, you're reading the description, what's going to happen is that you're going to waste so much time doing that for a phone call that's not going to pick up in the first place.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So what I like to do is encourage everybody, if you possibly can, dial. When you get on the phone with somebody, then you look it up. That way you're really valuing your time. And if you want to do this effectively, you have to make a lot of phone calls. It's just the nature of the beast. So the more phone calls you make, the more money you're going to make. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, cool. Of course. All right, let's dial another one. Myra, it's Mike Jackson. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Awesome. I'm looking at a listing of yours. I think it just came out. It's the one on South Courtney Court.
Oh, yes.
That just came out like within the last few hours, right?
Yes, I think I put it maybe yesterday.
Okay. Got it. It looks like a beautiful property. I can imagine you've gotten phone call after phone call.
Not yet.
No. Okay. Well, the reason that I'm calling is I'm looking to buy a property up in there, not for my personal residence, by the way. I'm looking to buy as an investment potentially. And so I just wanted to touch base with you, see what the activity was, but also more importantly, I wanted to just kind of touch base with you and see if this was possibly a good rental or what the activity was in the neighborhood. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
This neighborhood here has a restriction on rentals. You would have to be live there for 1 year. I believe it's 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And then the HOA allows you to rent it out.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, sometimes we'll rent them out. Sometimes we'll resell them. I think in this situation, because I know Forney quite a bit, we've purchased a lot of homes there before. What we typically do up in Forney is we will simply just resell them.
Got it. Okay.
The way that we resell them, by the way, and you can kind of tell me, I think that you might have your foot in this market potentially, is our whole goal here is to buy homes and then resell them to people who traditionally wouldn't be able to qualify for homes.
Okay.
And so we provide owner finance, basically. That's the term that we use. Do you happen to know, I'm just curious, do you happen to know any buyers up there who are having trouble qualifying but might, still be looking to buy a home and have cash? It sounds like you might come across them sometimes.
Sometimes I do, yes.
Okay. Well, I definitely want to work with you on the ones that we purchase in case you do have those buyers. We love to bring in an agent who has those relationships, if that's okay.
Yeah, that'll be fine. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And as far as this one goes, I know we kind of took a little bit of a detour, but as far as this one goes, I'm still interested in potentially looking at it. Are you guys having an open house this weekend? Can I come see it at some point?
Yeah, just let me know when, and it's I can open it remotely, or I can meet you there. It's up to you.
Okay, cool.
But I'm not gonna have an open house this weekend. I think I'm gonna have one next weekend. Just because I think it's gonna rain this weekend, but that's why I'm not gonna have one this weekend.
Is it?
Yeah, if you want to see it, yeah, it's vacant.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sick of this rain. When's it going to go away?
I know.
So where have the sellers gone? They moved out a little while ago?
They got divorced, and the wife moved to like somewhere in Plano, and then the husband, he actually moved out of town, like out of state. I think he's in Washington.
Got it. Sounds like it was a contentious divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah, he moved as far away as he could.
Right. He's pretty motivated on selling it. He doesn't want it. He doesn't even care if he doesn't make like a big profit. He's not looking to really make profit. He just wants to get rid of it.
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed too. It looked like there wasn't a whole lot of equity in the home, right?
Yeah, he just bought it. That's the bad thing. And he just bought it. So he knows, he's not going to make like a whole lot. He's not really looking, to make a profit. He just wants out.
Mm-hmm. Does the wife I'm just curious, feel free to say, don't ask that stupid question, but does the wife have any input on the sale of the property at all, or is it just him?
It's just him.
Okay. That makes things simpler.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Well, the reason I was bringing up,
I mean, she obviously has a sign, right? Because it's her name too, but yeah, she doesn't care about anything.
Got it. Okay. Well, it's always tough working with a divorced couple, so good on you. I know that can be challenging sometimes.
Right.
The reason that I was asking about the equity here is one of the ways that we purchase, and I don't think that the seller is probably even considering, or you're considering something like this at this point, but one of the ways that we purchase is by, instead of coming in with a new loan, we simply take over the loan that's in place. And that way we can really maximize the seller's equity and protect it, because we pay all the closing costs. We pay you your commission directly. And I was curious if you guys have been presented with that type of offer.
No.
Do you think that the seller would consider something like that?
Possibly. At this point, possibly.
Okay. Do you think that there are any impediments that would stand in the way of doing that? Anything that I can address, or is it better for me just to maybe submit an offer and see where it goes?
Yeah, I would just submit one, and then see where it goes. I don't think he'll be opposed to it, just because I know they don't want it,
Mm-hmm.
They just want to get rid of it.
Okay. Have you done a transaction like that before?
No.
Okay. Then I can kind of walk you through it so you can properly explain it to the seller. Or better yet, if there's any interest from the seller's standpoint at all, what we can always do is a couple of things. Either we can do like a 3-way call or Zoom, or even I can record a video to explain the process if that's helpful.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, I will take a further look at it. I'm down here in Austin. My partner is actually up in the DFW market, and I can send her over to take a look at it. So I'm sure that we'll be in touch shortly.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Talk to me.
Another call. You can go ahead.
How do you feel that went?
I feel like I was pulling teeth a little bit.
Okay.
I felt like I know how difficult it can be to do a deal with a couple who's going through a divorce with this type of transaction. So I wasn't pushing as hard as I normally would push on it because of the challenges that are inherent with this type of scenario. I thought it went okay. I would call it, a B if I were to grade it, personally. Why'd you ask?
Well, just, you know, to hear to me, that sounded like there's probably a real possibility. She kind of, the way things perceived to me, that she was kind of a passive personality type, not like, probably just a sweet lady, not headstrong or anything, just was trying to sell the job, just doing her job, you know, like, I'll pass it on. I think you would do that, you know. And so I was just kind of curious to see, like, what type of, like, if that would be considered like a good call or a bad call, you know. But it sounded like, I mean, I was pretty excited. I thought we were going to sign papers.
Yeah. I thought it was a good call, Tyler. Honestly,
Yeah.
you know, I think that you're exactly right. I'm going to have to walk her through that process.
Yeah.
Very, very finely walk her through that process, which is totally fine. And that's why I at the end talked about, you know, if you have any questions or if your sellers have questions, we can always do some sort of a 3-way call or Zoom or whatever.
And do you find that when you explain that, like, what sub 2 is or whatever, I've seen in the group that people say that there's a document or maybe an email, that's something that maybe Pace or someone had that just explains it? Or do you find it better to be on the call and go over that document at the same time?
It's a great question. Very early on, I joined Sub 2 a very long time ago. I joined its second month that it was around.
Okay.
And what I learned really quickly is that anytime something is given out to the community, it's used by everybody.
Okay.
So what I always want to do, if possible, is be different, right? I don't want to send the same exact thing that looks exactly the same way to everybody. And so what I did instead is I created a website for my company that explains the whole process. It has videos of us and they're explaining what happens in case this happens, you know, so on and so forth. If it's a VA loan, FHA loan, what happens in the case of default, all of these questions that they should be asking. And so what I do is I direct them to that if possible.
Okay.
Because as much as I possibly can, Tyler, I want to control the conversation, right? I don't want her to try to explain something that she's never done to her sellers.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to control the conversation as much as I can, whether that's my website, whether that's an email from me that's different than what everyone else is sending, or whether it's us setting up a 3-way phone call or a Zoom or something like that. I want to be the one who is controlling that narrative. In fact, one thing, this is kind of like a ninja move. And, you know, who knows how many people are still watching at this, 1 hour juncture here. So this is really probably just for you guys and my mom. But one thing I love to do is after a call like that, send her an offer, a formal offer, not an LOI, a formal offer with a video of me. So I'll sit here and I'll say, I think her name was Myra. Hey, Myra, this is Mike. Thanks so much for your time today. I really do appreciate it. I've submitted an offer. I sent it to you in your email. Let me explain to you exactly what this offer looks like. What you'll notice is that, first of all, it's on a TREC form. So it's not on my contract. It's on a TREC form that you're super familiar with. The purchase price is the mortgage balance plus what the cash to seller is. So in this case, I'm offering the seller $8,000. It looks like they're going to net around $6,000 with a traditional sale. So I'm trying to give them a little bit more. So the total purchase price is simply just the mortgage balance that we would take over plus the cash to seller. You also notice on page 11 that I am taking all of the closing costs under my responsibility, including your commission. So I will be paying those directly. The seller does not have to pay those in any way. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to get on a 3-way phone call with you. Let's be in touch. Before you talk to the seller, give me a call back. Let's have another conversation. Something like that.
Okay. Very cool.
And the reason that I do that is in addition to controlling the conversation, it's one thing for you to hear somebody over the phone. It's another thing to see them and for you to say it to them. And this isn't, a pre-written thing, a pre-recorded thing where it's, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Agent, this is Mike Jackson, right? I am using their name. I'm talking about the listing that they are currently on. I'm adding the address in my video. I am talking specific numbers about this property. So I'm going that extra. It takes, what did that take? A minute?
Yeah.
Maybe. But imagine the impact that has by taking an extra minute after a good phone call like that. So that's
awesome.
what I do.
Appreciate it.
That's awesome. That's good advice to do.
Erina, what did you think of the phone call?
I thought it was a good call. I like the way that when you notice that she hasn't done any kind of transactions like that, how you kind of slowed it down and not overwhelmed her with what it was. Because I do know that a lot of agents, when I'm talking to them, if I'm talking fast and I'm just throwing it out there, it kind of freaks them out because it's unknown for them. And they'll just shut it down, even if they haven't talked to the seller about it, just because they're inexperienced about it. But you came at her in a way that will make her comfortable to still pursue it, even though she didn't know anything about it. And with the tip of, I know that when we were doing like the No One Left Behind challenge with all the LOIs being sent out, it was just kind of like you get lost in the shuffle because they were receiving so much. So versus how you said sending the email with the personalized video that just took 1 minute, that just increased your chances of getting that deal 1,000%. And I've never even thought about that. Then, you know, because it is a big group and we do send out the same thing. So yeah, that was awesome.
The other thing that you have to think about too is the data that we're calling on, right? The No One Left Behind challenge. Where is this data coming from?
Yeah.
PropStream, right? Now, if you take a look on PropStream, you won't find this property on PropStream. It's still going to take 2 weeks to find this property on PropStream.
Wow.
So with this data, we're able to build a relationship with this agent and build that trust and rapport so that when she does start getting phone calls from everybody else, I've positioned myself as the person that she's going to want to come back to as the trusted person, right? As opposed to on day 14, you know what happens, especially with the No One Left Behind challenge, those agents are going to get how many calls that day? How many LOIs do you think they're going to get that day? 100? Yeah, exactly. And so I can actually use that to my advantage. I can say, hey, Myra, just so you know, it sounds like this is your first low equity transaction. This is all that I do. So this is kind of my world. To give you some insight into what's going to happen in a couple weeks, it's going to be crazy. So let me take 30 seconds to explain to you what that is. You're going to start to receive phone calls from people who probably don't even sound like they know what they're doing. You're going to get 100 LOIs that look exactly the same with the same exact numbers on it. It's going to be hard for you to tell who's who and what's what. You know, this is all that I do, as I said. So if you have any questions, even if you don't decide to work with me, I'm available to you to answer any questions. I care very deeply about the transaction, protecting this type of transaction so we can continue to do these. So if you have any concern, if you have any questions, feel free to come back to me. I'll tell you exactly how you should structure it to protect the seller in the best way possible.
Wow.
So personally, I think that's pretty powerful. I don't know.
It is.
I don't know if I'm just telling myself that in the mirror, like you're powerful, you're strong, you know, that sort of thing, like affirmations. But I think it's a pretty powerful thing to get way ahead of everyone else and build that rapport and trust and say, look, even if you decide not to do it with me, I'm happy to be a resource for you and answer any questions you have to help protect the seller.
That's awesome. Yeah, that does. Because when the listing is up or getting ready to expire, they'll go back to think about you. They'll be like, oh, wait, it was the first guy who called me about the property. So, yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah. Plus, my name is Michael Jackson. So who's going to forget that? You know what I mean? Yeah. I lean into that. Erina, let's get you on one more call, and then we'll finish up for the day. Does that sound okay?
It sounds great.
Tyler, are you learning something today?
I'm learning a lot. I
Okay,
sure
cool.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Cool. I love it. Thanks so much for joining today. I love having brand new people on here. And, you know, we're all brand new at some point, right? 5 years ago, I didn't know how to do a sub-2 deal.
Yeah.
I was right where you are. So give yourself time and grace and you'll get there.
Okay.
In fact, if you ever want to role play or something like that, let me know and we can do that over the phone or Zoom or whatever.
Yeah. I love it. You're one other thing too, while she's looking before I mute. I think one of the things I like seeing you do is kind of my style too, is you throw in these subtle jokes because you can kind of be kind of like, some people call me monotone, or they say I'm just kind of like this, but I've learned, I did door to door for so long. I learned how to throw things in there and kind of push buttons, and then like kind of act like, wait, I'm naive, in doing it. And I'm picking up on that, and it's good to see how you do that. You threw in a few jokes and, stuff like that. I like that. It brings, it kind of lightens the mood a little bit.
Yeah, my wife says that most of my jokes don't land, which I totally get. But you got to throw them out there to try.
Yeah.
And I don't think that you're monotone at all. In fact, I learned something when I was in college. I learned that I like the tone of your voice, and I like the level of volume of your voice.
Yeah.
What it makes me want to do is lean in to hear you, right? It's loud enough where I can hear you, but I want to listen more. And so I think that's a huge benefit.
Yeah.
Huge.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Yeah. And how your dictation and how you pace, it makes me feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%. I agree with that.
All right. Well, I'm going to mute, and good luck on this call.
Yes, I was calling about the property on Lakeside Landing Boulevard. So I see it just went on market. Beautiful property, by the way. I was just trying to get some more information about it. Have you had any offers lately on it?
I'm not the listing agent on that home any longer.
Okay, you're not the listing agent?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, do you have any other properties that you have listed or available at the moment?
Yeah, but we're not interested. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a good one.
Let's get you back on another phone call. That was ridiculous.
Okay.
An agent does not want to connect with you.
Yeah.
We're not interested. You didn't even say what you do.
Yeah.
Let's get you on one more.
Okay.
You're a bulldog. I'm going to call you Erina Bull. I don't know. I'll come up with something. But
thank you.
I love how you,
bullets.
I love it. I love it. I think it's pretty incredible.
Thank you.
I wish I had more of that in me. Could you imagine, by the way, that agent who says that they're no longer the listing agent after it's been on the market for a day, what she's done to get kicked off of it? And then her response after that, which was, we're not interested in working with buyers or sellers. It's crazy. It's like saying the hot dog stand doesn't want to sell hot dogs.
Is that usually a pretty hard process, right? Like don't you sign up with an agent and say, hey, you're going to list my house? And isn't there some type of document
Yeah,
you sign and they represent you. And
yep. Yeah, it's a full listing agreement. So it's a pretty big deal.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes. How can I help you?
Hi, I was calling about your property on Palomino Place.
Yes.
Yeah, so I see it just hit the market. I was calling just to get some more information on it, looking to purchase in the area.
Yes. It is 2 years old. It is a complete smart home. They have flooring, tiled in the walking areas.
Mm-hmm.
They've kept it very well. Their owners, first time, that was the first owner of the home.
Mm-hmm.
What else can I tell you? Are you familiar with that area?
No, I'm not familiar with the area. So just a little about me. We do purchase. I'm currently in Texas, but we do invest out there in Florida. And so what we usually do is we'll actually purchase the home, or we turn them into rentals, or it just depends on, how we help the seller out. I know you just listed a day ago, so I'm pretty sure you haven't really got a lot of offers as of yet, have you?
We have a lot of interest in it.
Mm-hmm.
No offers yet.
Is it because of the area? Is that like an up and coming area? Is it like all brand new homes built there, huh?
Yeah, it's a lot of brand new homes, but you'll see the big difference is that not all of them have the additional things like fences.
Okay.
And this is completely fenced out, and they don't have any gutters. And this one has gutters. So those two expensive costs for a buyer is already there. And the price is already good,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know those gutters came in. Yeah, and I know they came in.
Whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm looking at that, and I know it came in handy with the snowstorm y'all just had. Did y'all get any snow down there?
Not in Orlando or Apopka area.
Really? Wow.
Only up north of Florida.
Oh, wow. Central. I know that was like a new thing, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so with the...
If you're interested in seeing it, they're opening up the viewings on Friday.
On Friday?
Uh-huh.
Okay,
so
awesome.
You can text me,
mm-hmm.
Or do you have access to Showtime or no?
No, I don't.
Okay, just text me when you want to see it on Friday.
Okay.
I'll make it possible.
Okay, and that price, I know that looking at it, they don't have a lot of equity in it, so they're not willing to come down on that price any more than they have already, huh?
Right.
Okay. Well, so how we usually operate, our group usually we kind of specialize in that low equity, no equity type deals.
Right.
Where if it came to an instance down the line, maybe a couple of months from now or weeks, where they couldn't get, they couldn't sell the house for the price that they're offering, we do have where we usually would typically take over the mortgage. We do have that offer, pay your commissions.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
They need the money.
They need the money. Well, they would we could work out where they could walk away with a certain amount that would help them. Are they trying to relocate to another area? Or?
Yeah, they're relocating. Yes.
Okay. Do you know where they're trying to relocate? I'm not trying to, not to pry.
I'm not, I think it's closer to their jobs. And I believe it's Universal Studios.
Okay. Up that way?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
and plus, of course, they have to pay off the mortgage.
Right.
And some of their loans. So.
And they wouldn't be open to keeping the loan, and then we just take over those payments for them and give them out their equity.
They already talked to me about that.
They did? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, Lily, thank you for talking with me today. If you have any other homes that would kind of match that or match that, our buy list, just reach out to me, okay?
All right.
And good luck. Don't mean to hold you up. You're welcome. You have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
So Tyler, normally I would go to you first. However, this is really fresh in my mind. Do you mind if I chime in really quickly?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool. First of all, she's running a daycare. What the heck is going on there? Is she a real estate agent or is she a daycare person? Craziness, right? It's bedlam in that house, and it's what 2:10 back there right now, or whatever time it is. My math is off, but I found this really interesting. While you were on the phone call, I looked up the lead. It's an FHA loan that she said they purchased 2 years ago. Tyler, do you know how FHA loans work?
I don't know. Okay. Sorry.
Erina, what about you?
Not really.
Okay. FHA loans, what you do is you put 3.5% down, and then you pay mortgage insurance every single month until it reaches a certain equity threshold.
20%, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you think about it, the reason I'm bringing up the FHA issue is because let's say they bought it 2 years ago and they put 3.5% down. Knowing what's happened just generally in the U.S. real estate market, what do you think their equity position is? Think it's more, less, a lot more, a lot less, about the same?
Wouldn't they not really have any?
Yeah, I would think it's about the same. Okay, so what I wrote down here, I made a couple of notes. What I wrote down here is because it's an FHA that they purchased a couple years ago, it looks like there's a big dollar amount in equity spread, not a big one, but a chunk there. And what I would have asked there is, it looks like I actually wouldn't have gone into what they purchased it for, but I would have said, what have they done to the property? Have they done any upgrades to it? Because what that's going to tell me is they have done the sort of labor equity, sweat equity type of scenario, right? Where you do work, you put money into it, it increases in value. But it sounds like there's a lot of new development in that area too, which makes me think that if there's new development, let's say that you're a brand new buyer, are you going to want to go buy a 2-year-old home or a brand new home if it's the same price?
Brand new.
Brand new, right? Always. Right? So there's probably not the equity spread there that the sellers think there is. So I think that that's overpriced. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So if they were to, oh, thanks, hon. Thank you. Yeah. If they were to sell it today, and let's assume that there's not a whole lot of appreciation, but they bought it for, or they put 3.5% down, assume no appreciation. In 2 years, there's very little principal pay down, right? Because you're paying a lot of interest on that mortgage in the very beginning. And you're also paying the mortgage insurance too, which sucks. But there's probably not the spread there that they think there is. And the closing costs and commissions would surpass what I would think their equity percentage is in the house. So what I would have done there is dive a little bit deeper into any improvements on the home. What have they done in the home to increase the value? In fact, what I would have done is I would have said, hey, Erina, I know that Florida is a totally different market, but what I realized in the past couple of years is that I live in Texas and we have kind of similar issues. They're not the same issues, but they're kind of in the same vein. They're somewhat similar in the sense that we haven't seen the type of price appreciation that we had the previous couple of years. I thought that was the same in Florida. Have you guys had a lot of price appreciation? Because it looks like, this is increased in value pretty considerably. And I wouldn't even have to take a look at, Tyler, what they sold it for, just because I knew that it was an FHA loan. And the only reason you get an FHA is because you don't have a whole lot to put down on it. So I would have focused a lot on that. I love the question, by the way, of, could I come in a little bit lower? One thing I would do, though, is one thing that I do, I don't know, again, take this with a grain of salt, but it seems to work, is, hey, is there any flexibility in the price? I know that you guys are brand new on the market, but are the sellers flexible at all in the price? Kind of ask in a very curious way. And then that's also a really good way of getting out from the agent that it's a low equity situation. Because sometimes what happens is I say, hey, is there any flexibility in the price at all? And they'll be like, well, what are you thinking? I said, well, I kind of see the value more $20,000 less than what you guys are currently at. If I were to submit an offer at that point, would that be a waste of my time? And the agent would chime in and say, well, they can't do that because there's low equity, there's no equity, or whatever it is. So that's a really cool way of getting that information out.
Okay.
Okay, so furthering along on the FHA stuff. So when she said that they have to sell the property, they have to pay off this note, one question I would always ask when they say that is immediately, I would almost chime in when she's halfway through that sentence, knowing what she's going to say. I'd be like, why? Challenge. Why? Why do they have to pay that off? Now, there are a couple things there. If they want to get an FHA loan on their next home, it might be challenging for them to get an FHA loan if they keep their name on this FHA loan, unless they're moving outside. I think the radius is 50 or 100 miles. I forget what it is. But if you're moving, call it 100 miles away, you can get another FHA loan. If you have some sort of financial distress, some sort of situation in your life that's causing you to move, then you can petition to get an FHA loan within that radius, whatever that radius is. Okay, so I would push that a little bit and say, hey, why do they have to pay off this loan to get a new loan? And typically their reaction is going to be, well, they won't qualify. Hey, it's really interesting that you say that, because we just bought a home, actually coincidentally in Florida, where the sellers thought the same exact thing. This was not an FHA loan. It might have been a VA loan, for example. I mean, you kind of give your own example there, but we were able to show them how they could do it, and it worked out for everybody. Whatever your third-party story is, you can work on your third-party stories separately. But I think that there are a lot of ways there that you could have poked a little bit. Don't ever take an agent saying they can't do that as gospel.
Okay.
Because they don't know, largely. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, cool.
That's good. The FHA, is it the same with the VA loans when you're trying to take over? You really can't take over the payments?
No, VAs are a lot easier, actually. VAs are a lot easier on the borrower because it just depends on how much entitlement they have remaining.
Okay.
So that's the big issue with VA loans, is the entitlement issue. But even if you surpass your entitlement limit, the VA will still insure and provide you with great benefit over the amount that you've already borrowed.
Okay.
Tyler, what did you think of Erina's phone call?
I thought she did a good job asking. I think the one thing I've noticed about her is that she does, it's kind of like she knows she has to get information out, right? And you get it out. And I think as you learn how to make it all flow, then your ability is just going to be phenomenal, because if you get a rejection back, it's kind of like you process it or don't process it. Some of it's a little bit different, but then you go, hey, I'm going to just keep, I'm here, I'm trying, I'm in the game. I'm going to ask another question. And you kind of keep going and you get a response back, and positive, negative, you get some feedback, and you're like, well, you're still trying, even if maybe you don't know how to put it all together or whatever doesn't flow. And, just having effort alone is amazing. And so I think that's what I see and I notice about you, because just like myself, I wouldn't know what to ask if they had an FHA loan or if it has high equity. I would probably just go off of all the things that we know. But a lot of people will quit before, they would quit early. They would take one rejection and go, oh, no, you're not open to it? Okay, well, remember my number, call me back, and you kind of keep going, and they're trying to find different avenues. And so your persistence of trying, I think, is what really stands out over everything else.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you can't really teach that. You kind of can, or you can try to teach it, but that's what you're trying to teach people to do. And that's that determination. So I would much rather have, if it were me in my job, I would much rather have someone who's willing to keep trying and even saying the wrong things, but keep trying. because then you can fill in the blanks with things like Mike's teaching us, like, well, hey, yeah, do this, this, and this. And then as we do that, you're already that much further ahead than most people. It's really hard for people to maybe keep pushing, you know. So I would much rather be in that position than in the reverse.
Thank you.
Yeah. I love that. Hey guys, today was awesome. Thank you guys so much. I know that we've gone over time. I think it was for a good reason. Erina, great calls today. Really good. There was a lot of good stuff there. A lot of good stuff we can pull away as feedback too, I think, on both of our calls. Mm-hmm. And Tyler, I love that you hung around. I really do. I think that, you know, you're going to, whenever you want to dive in, just because of your experience before, I think that when you find your voice in this, it's going to be amazing. So you're welcome anytime. Erina, you're welcome anytime. Thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, guys, thank you so much for your support as well. We are sponsored again by rocketbotleads.ai. Feel free to use our coupon code for 20% off the first month. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your week. I appreciate you.
Thank you. You too.
Bye,
Bye, guys.